What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Real One Show. It's your boy Bobby.
And it's your boy Mo. Hey,
we totally didn't do this again.
We definitely didn't. But I'm gonna keep the same reaction because it's how I feel. That's a nice rhyme.
It is a nice rhyme. So Mo, we already kind of decided the first thing we're gonna talk about today. And I feel like it's a lot of themes of our shows. You know, dating females, or
I think we just talk about
people in general.
Pops up at any given moment.
This is true.
Like if there's nothing particularly interesting topic wise, life is always an interesting topic.
Life be interesting.
But yeah, earlier I was talking to Bobby. I asked him a question just out of randomness because of I guess situations that I had to deal with, where I was like, what personality trait that someone, not physical, it's nothing to do with physical, of course there are obviously such a bigger realm when it comes to physical, but like what in someone's personality would irritate you so much that eventually it would lead to, like, it's a deal breaker essentially,
right?
Whether it be like a deal breaker if you're in a relationship and it's happening, you want to get out, or it's just something you would avoid altogether if someone had that personality trait. Like what is one or even any set of personality traits that you find like intolerable?
For me, like I'm gonna say jealousy, but
right.
it's not the jealousy in like there's
like not the common jealousy.
Yeah, there's like small jealousy of like, all right, you maybe you're a little too friendly. There's small jealousy, but I guess there's like petty jealousy that I'm talking about, a very specific type of jealousy. Whereas like now you're like cutting off your partner from talking to certain people, or like the person of the same sex as the opposite sex of you because you're afraid.
Right, like complete restriction from interaction with anyone of opposite.
Right, and I guess because that pisses me off so much because I the amount of times I've seen it so much is actually mind-boggling. Like personal friends of mine's going through that shit. I'm like, you actually are dating a person who restricts you from talking to, and it's not like, oh, you're making a new friend that so happens to be a female. No, you were female friends with this person way before you met this girl.
Right.
And now,
not completely platonic too, like
right, completely platonic, had no past history, no nothing, and this new person comes in and they're dictating what you do with your life.
Right.
So that's the part where it's like that. Why would
control.
you? Yeah. So like the control aspect of is because they're jealous. Now they're controlling. So I guess more controlling.
Interesting tidbit on that. Go on. Say what you're saying.
Oh no, that was just pretty much it. Where it's like, and like I said, I'm saying this in my perspective, but same. If a man tries to dictate who you talk to, who you communicate with, to other males, friends, or like even now,
that's an incredible amount of insecurity.
Right.
There too.
So it's insecurity, red flags, because they're trying to control you from the jump, and like maybe it took years for them getting comfortable with you, and like also it's different where it's like if that person kind of like had a past where it's kind of like they did something to that person. Whereas then the partner kind of raises an issue. There's nothing wrong with raising an issue, having a communication about it. But it's kind of like if they just hard stuck, don't talk to this person or cut this person out of your life. Right. And it's all too common. It really is, because like people saying like that's like a beginning red flag or a big red flag in your relationship as soon as they try to control your social aspect.
Right, and if it happens in the beginning and you let it happen, like you're definitely a goof as well. Like you if it happens at the beginning, you don't screen it from the beginning, like you have some levels of insecurity as well, to where you probably feel like there's no one else that you can find and this is it for you type of thing. Like that level of complacency.
Right, and that that's definitely true, because that's why you let it happen, where it's like, well, I really love this person and I don't think I'm ever going to find this person, a person like this again, so I kind of have to give in to certain demands in order to keep this person happy.
Right, and if that's the kind of person that you want to keep happy, there's definitely better people out there. That's not the be all and end all. Interesting tidbit when it comes to that like amount of like control based jealousy. Obviously, that's that's still bordering on the crazier side. But I think like when it comes to like just jealousy festering, I think or manifesting, from what I've heard, like just from like one anecdote, and I'm pretty sure it's like something that's probably like a notion that's probably shared. Someone told me that as it relates to like grown relationships, relationships that have some basis on sex being a factor. Whenever you are providing a certain quality of a sexual experience to someone, like the minute they think of the possibility of someone else getting the same experiences, like it fucking drives them crazy. I think that's one thing that like creates some kind of jealousy, is like, oh, you got some fire pussy, or you got some good ass dick. Like I don't want to think of anybody else getting that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So obviously it does still lead into some craziness, but like I've heard that that's a thought that goes through someone's mind. Like I don't want anybody to experience this. For what? This shit is fire. Because at the end of the day, if they like give into that thought that somebody else could be experiencing it, then that also the thought comes up like, oh, they could probably switch up on me if that person is better. You know what I mean? As opposed to trying within themselves to like make themselves better to match the situation, they just think you should just be like to them completely and not even like give in to any thoughts of anybody else like interfering. My thing is like for me, if I feel like my shit is not up to par, I'd probably work on myself. You know what I mean? Like
Very
whether
true. Very
just
true.
even outside of sex, like if I feel like some factor or some aspect of me is not up to par for like making a relationship work, I will make the necessary changes to make it work instead of trying to restrict the other person. So I mean, it just comes with a difference in thought process.
Definitely.
But my big, I think not so much my biggest, but like some like different like peeves pop up as you experience different like aspects of somebody's personality. For me, recently what's popped up is paranoia. I dislike paranoia. Like someone thinking that people are out to get them like all the time, even if they're not important enough for people to care about them enough to want to get at them all the time, is really irritating. Like you don't understand like dealing with somebody that for whatever reason always feels like people have something to say behind their back, or someone is always saying something behind their back, or that everybody's two-faced without having any evidence. That's just irritating to me. Like that for
I,
sure. If that's not nipped in the bud early, like that definitely like
yeah,
escalates into
it
something
also goes
unnecessary.
back to the insecurities that you were talking about, where it's like
Yeah.
you're so insecure that you're constantly thinking like people are talking about you or
Yeah, it's like a constant feeling of inadequacy, like
right.
just
And
because.
the thing is, we've all been there. We
Right.
all get those times where we're insecure. I'm still insecure about myself at times, but there are different types of insecurities that don't affect other people.
Right, right. You can feel like you may not be a certain way, but at the end of the day, it don't carry over to how other people perceive you. Like at the end of the day, if I feel like there's anything that is particularly unattractive about me and somebody still likes me for me, I don't care about that in relation to that relationship. Like if I find that unattractive and you find it attractive, that's more power to me. I'm happy.
Mm.
You know what I mean? But some people just can't get over that. Like they feel like their flaws are something that are looked at by everybody else as flaws as well, and that's just, they can't be further from the truth. That's just super irritating. Like I can't stand that. Is there anything? I know there's other like personality traits that are really unfavorable. It's just that they're all border along the same concept though. They all border along insecurities. So it's just a matter of like really balancing your level of insecurity, knowing what your partner finds attractive about you and not focusing on what you think about yourself. At the end of the day, as much as people like to think self-esteem, you can't have an esteem about yourself if people don't have a perception about it.
Mm.
So you can't think you're ugly if there's not a perception about what ugly is. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You can't just instinctively think you're unattractive, because there has to be a standard for what is attractive before you can even think that. So at the end of the day, if your significant other finds whatever flaws you find unattractive attractive, then just go with that. At least for the for the peacefulness of the marriage or the relationship or whatever the situation is. Like if it's something that they find appealing, then as it relates to that relationship, overlook your insecurities. You can always feel insecure about yourself by yourself, but when you're in that realm of somebody else, like saying, listen babe, I don't like, this is pretty, I don't care how you feel about it, I like it, just just deal with that. If it's something that you feel that is so like absolutely negative about yourself, and you can change it in a safe, healthy way, then by all means, like, work towards it. Like, if you feel like you're too overweight or whatever the situation is, like, exercise something, like, make the necessary change and feel so much about
Yeah,
it.
definitely easier said than done, in my opinion. Yeah.
No, I'm saying, as opposed to just thinking about
Right.
it. You know what I mean? Because thinking about it is not going to create any change.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
So just thinking about it is not going to do anything. Like, so if it's
Nah.
like, if it's that bit, like, if it's that strong a focus, at any given moment, like, you always like put in the necessary effort. Like, if it's really that strong a focus. Otherwise, people just like being insecure about shit, man. Like, because I don't think half the things that people feel like they're insecure about are really valid enough, even in their own mind.
Well, there are some people who like
content with it.
I feel like are not really insecure, but because it's an easy way to feel good about themselves, they're purposely feeling insecure, or they feel certain insecurities because they know it's like an easy like compliment catch from like strangers or whatnot.
Oh, right, like, oh, I think I'm ugly. Like, nah, bitch, you look.
Right, like, I think I'm
like,
like if you write to a public forum, whether it be Facebook or back in the day MySpace, and you ever wrote, "I think I'm ugly," that is fishing. You are fishing for that compliment.
You got the fishing rod for sure. The fishing rod is out and in full effect for sure. I definitely.
And it's gonna sound shit, but like, I know I'm ugly. I don't need to write that. Like, oh, I think I'm ugly. I know.
Right. I am aware of the things that make me.
I don't need to fish for them compliments because you're gonna tell me like, I don't think you're ugly. I don't think you're pretty, but I think you're. I think you're.
Like trying to get the freaking the margin, trying to get the gray area.
Like, I ain't that bad, but.
Right. Like, yeah, no. It's definitely a thing. I feel like people should just focus more on like what is said as opposed to what they feel like. I mean, unless there's just always around absolutely negative people, then by all means, like, get out of that situation and focus on the positive.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like if you're around people that always they're like, nah, you look good, like, I like what you did to your hair, whatever the situation is, like, accept that. You know what I mean? Just
people who don't accept compliments, huh?
Or downplay compliments, because I feel like if you downplay compliments myself, but I don't downplay them. Like, if somebody says something like compliment, I'd be like,
I feel like downplaying compliments more fucked up than not accepting compliments.
Yeah, because I'll be like, that's what's up, or I'll say something snide like, I know, I appreciate it though. I'll say something like I say some goofy shit just to like to change the narrative of the conversation, because when you hear a compliment, generally the only thing you can say is thank you, right? Like, you can only be appreciative.
Nah, I take it to the next step. Like, you trying to fuck now?
Yeah. I don't like carry on normal conversations.
No, I hate
weird,
small
like,
talk.
I like to have weird conversations too, and you can attest to that. Like,
I
come up with something new to say every 2 minutes.
I'm quite jealous of how you can make it into a silly conversation, because I want to be like that, or I try to be like that, but it's kind of like, first of all, if random story, but like weeks ago when I was leaving work, I work overnight, and the same guys on the street, like, how like they wet the street every morning in
right.
Manhattan.
Right.
So this guy, I see the same guy, I give nods, I'm just give that, or like, a wave. But then this one time, guy fucked up the routine. He said, "How you doing?" And I was like, "Good morning." So I'm like, that's not how you respond, but because I wasn't expecting that. B, I don't expect anyone just to ask how you doing, or I feel like how you doing nowadays is as equivalent of hey, and you say hi, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't think of that actually as like an opening conversation, and it probably wasn't, but it threw me off so much that I was like, the routine's fucked up. You fucked it all. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, no, I don't live in a routine. That's probably it. Like,
maybe,
I just
yeah.
do random shit all the time, because I don't like committing to a routine. Like, I like shit being different as much as possible.
Shit.
Because at the end of the day, I was just say variety's the spice of life. So if you maintain like some kind of, and you don't have to be an extremist with it, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to try to do the absolute extreme different thing. Like, when it comes to certain things, I'm an absolute square, but I do different things while being a square, you know? So it's like, you see me, like, you probably view me as like, oh, you know, in this particular way, but at the end of the day, like, you know, there's always something new happening, because I'm always trying to do like different things, whether it be with, and if it's not something I can change situationally, like if I can't change a situation, I'll change like my speech pattern, like how I speak, like how I interact with others. Like, I change that up as often as I can, just to maintain like that difference. Like, you can't say, oh, you know, the conversation is bland, because it's always different. Obviously, there are those moments when I don't really feel like talking too much, so I'll keep the conversation to an absolute minimum. But when I actually am talking, like when I'm in the mood for talking, like I definitely say a bunch of weird, unique shit all the time. Like, even now, talking to this dude, probably, like, before we started recording this, I probably greeted him in, like, a different way from how I've always greeted him. Or how I normally
talking to this dude right here? Or...
Yeah.
No, you... I don't think you've ever had, like...
A week of the same conversation pattern.
Not even a week of the same like, intro. Like, when we first see each other, it's like, it's always something different. Either you singing a different song, or you, Actually, no, you insult me a lot.
I wouldn't say insult, man.
Okay.
It's
for the people at home, when friends say they insulted them, never take it to heart. It's never serious. It's never ever serious.
It's more like,
right? I call this guy,
bitch?
I call this guy a fuck all the time, or you know, probably something worse that I can't say.
Right, but it's definitely.
Where outside conversations is like, the fuck did he just say to that guy?
A lot of times, even at work, like when I'm talking to my homies at work, like people think that we're being super, like from the outside looking in, it's like, yo, what is it supposed to be an issue? Like, are we supposed to contain this? Because I'll probably like run up on them like, so what up? What up, bitch? Like, I'll probably square up on them, and they'll square right back up, but it's all out of jokes. Ain't nobody gonna hit anybody. Right. But from the outside looking in, like, they're thinking like, oh, this is a situation. We might have to contain this. Like, where's the phone? Let me call the cops. Like, to the outside looking
Officer,
in, it seems that way. But
there are two black guys fighting.
They're right. And we always make jokes about it. It's like, you can imagine what security's thinking on the other end of that camera. Like, oh, we about to run over here. These dudes about to fight. Like, I square up every 2 seconds on my homies. Like, it don't matter. Like, we know nobody's gonna fight, but it's just funny because it's something different. Like, who greets you by saying, so what up, bitch ass nigga? Like, who? No one, you know what I mean? Like, no one does that. So it's just one of those funny things.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Always
that would feel taken back. It was like, the fuck?
Yeah, no, but the thing, we all have that common understanding because we all know each other.
Right,
so
right.
At the end of the day, it's like, we know that it's nothing coming of it, but if it pops up out of nowhere, it's like, of course it's like, oh, this is different, but no one's gonna feel offended by it. It's like, nah, oh, this is different. Like, niggas is greeting me in a different way. That's interesting. But that's just really how it is. Like, variety is the spice of life. So I always try to do like different things. So when it comes to like any kind of monotony that happens, it doesn't really happen too much. Like, cause I always am trying to do different things, and that translates to everything too. So, you know, it's just one of those things. I don't know how we veered into that, but we did.
That's what we do.
Because that could be a
if
factor
you're watching
for a lot
this,
of people.
you already
people
know.
Feel bored.
You know, we transition into random segments of like the same of like different topics into more topics.
But as a tangent, I will say that could be an issue for some people. Some people do have an issue with people being particularly lackadaisical or bland. That could be a personality trait that a lot of people can't really stand in a relationship.
Oh, well,
they like people that do like certain spontaneous things.
For the future girl who's gonna use this against me, I'm sorry. I'm bland.
I am a square, but I won't say I'm bland.
I'm a square, but I'm your square.
Yeah, I am four square.
I am four square for you. All these corners belong to you, girl.
No, I'm definitely. When I say I'm a square, though, when my square is not in relation to my personality so much. It's more so in relation to like my thoughts about certain things and like sexually. Like I would say, see, we might as well. Fuck it, you know.
We here.
Real One Show. We gonna talk about sex at some point, so might as well start now.
The Real One Show, talking about sex since episode 1.
Basis. Fuck it, because you know sex is lit. But when I talk about square, I mean like in reference to like sex. Like a lot of people have their like their different kinks and the things they're willing to get down to or willing to try. Like I'm not willing to try shit. Like if it doesn't
Yeah,
really
you're really
pertain
not.
to like if it's really not pertaining to like basic sexual behavior, like like standard dick in vagina type of situations, and like I don't really veer out of that. Like I feel very comfortable just doing regular sex. But the thing is, when it comes to regular sex, I don't do the same thing all the time. Like I'm always doing some next shit. You know what I mean? But it's very very square.
The
Like
helicopter.
yeah, there's yes, all of that. Like I'm not gonna be doing the same shit. Like the same week within the same week, you're not gonna catch like
See,
all the same
and I'm
positions.
opposite with you. I'm down to try anything and everything just because I want to
Right, right,
experience
right,
it.
right. So you're not as is not as much of a square as you
When
thought.
it comes to
You know what I mean?
sex, the
When it comes to sex,
problem
that's
is
where I
getting there.
deviate. When it comes to social life, yeah, I'll switch it up all the fucking
Oh yeah,
time.
you wild the fuck.
Yeah, no, I do my thing. But yeah, sexually, it's weird because people think like this is how he is in public. In private, he might be just as weird. It's like no, I just like doing that in public because it breaks the monotony of conversation. Like sex is not a conversation for me, not in a literal sense. So
So
you know,
Mo, wild in the beginning, square in the private life. Bobby, square.
while in the beginning, I'm that
Oh
consistently,
well,
just in a
just
different
in a
setting.
different setting. Okay, my bad. My bad.
Yeah, no, I'm always doing different shit. Always, always.
So I have a random story, and I guess this is kind of like getting off topic now. Well, I mean, I guess we were
Might as well.
finished with the
Fuck it.
topic. Random story. So like a couple days ago when I was heading to work,
Mm.
and you know like people say be careful, know your surroundings as you're going in public and whatnot. You don't know what's going to be happening, and we kind of take that advice to heart. Where it's like, well, if I'm not messing with nobody, nothing's gonna happen to me necessarily, or like we kind of like
Right.
just take it for granted. But there was this
Right.
dude on the subway where
Mhm.
like offer like when I went to the platform with the train station, I was overhearing his conversation on the phone, and he was yelling at some dude over the phone saying like, "Where you at, pussy? I'm gonna come fuck you up," and all that shit. So I'm like, "Damn."
Oh, you were saying that, or he was?
No,
saying
he was
that?
saying that. I was on my
with the angry face.
yeah on the phone.
Oh.
And he was like, "Yo, I'm around the area. You know where I'm at. Like so." He's looking to fight somebody. So I'm like, "Oh damn, all right." And then I just stick to my own. I'm like, "Shit, he angry."
Right.
And then
Right.
he steps on the same subway car as me, and when I sit down, as soon as he sits down, this is like bigger Mexican dude next to him. He just puts his head on him, and I'm like, "The fuck is he doing?" And like the Mexican
Right.
dude looks so fucking crazy as shit. It's like the fuck, he's shrugging up like the hell's wrong with you? And he's like, no, chill, calmate. And I'm like, dude, you fucking nuts. And like the thing is, so like, and like the guy is like, all right, like back the fuck off. I'm like,
Right.
the fuck is going on? So like the guy stands up and he starts now pulling his bag. I'm like, who the fuck? What are you doing, dude? Like, are you crazy?
Was he a crackhead?
No. Like, okay, well, I don't know what his personal life is, and it didn't.
No, I'm saying
With
you
all
can see
right,
some,
like
if they
no,
look like they
I
bugging out,
honestly
like,
think
the
he
crack is strong in this
literally
one.
was just not right in the head, but like
Right,
he
right.
was. I think he was just in an anger state that he was looking to fight anyone and
Right.
anything. And when I mean anyone and anything, it's because like that dude wasn't the only dude he was trying to pick on. So like
Right.
he's laying on his thing and whatnot, and like the dude's like shoving off, and the guy's like pulling his back. Like, it's like, yo, chill. And I'm like, yo,
Right.
dude, you are fucking batshit crazy. And he started tugging on other people's bags. I'm like, now you better not
Oh,
come over
boy.
here. So like
Please.
the weirder part is like, so he got off one stop later, like legit. It wasn't even like 5 minutes, but it was just straight couple minutes of like, is something about to happen?
How this sounds is like an intense,
Right, it was like the longest
train
2 minutes,
ride
2
of-
minutes of my life.
Damn. You're just hoping like, please don't touch, please. If you touch me, I might have to hit you. I don't want to.
Right, and the thing is like, and he didn't swing or anything, but I knew that he was looking for a fight. He was looking for a fight. So it's
Right.
like it made me think. It was like, well, is he packing then? Is he like, does he have this confidence that he has boys with him, or like he just straight up
right.
nuts? Now the thing is, the
Right.
one stop later where he got off at, there was this guy put with a bike at a different like door, and he got
Right.
off, went to the next one, started to pull his bike out of the train.
Oh boy.
And I'm like, and now he's trying to take the freaking guy's bike. And like not even like he's shoving it outside the thing, and the guy's shoving it back inside the car. I'm like, the fuck's going on? So
Yeah, nah, he's unstable.
right, and he finally let go, and the guy had like words. The bike had words for him, so like he was totally unstable. Now, I guess the random story I brought this up is because I was on guard the whole time, just in case the shit spilled over to me.
Right, you gotta go into
So
defense
like
mode real quick.
like if you live in New York, no matter what, you have that inner guard in you that's like always up.
Because you're always dealing with crazy.
Right.
Like, there's always crazy. When you're dealing with the subway and public transportation, you open up the avenues to so much crazy. So you always got to be on guard. You never know when the crazy is going to talk to you.
Right. And the thing is, like, being in New York for so long is, like, you gauge crazy on different spectrums. So, like, crackhead crazy is never, like, there's low crackhead crazy where it's like, oh, that shit's funny. Or he's just being hilarious and whatnot.
Right, they just took a hit. They slumped in the corner. They passed out.
And then
on
there's
the edge
crazy
of the block,
crackhead where it's like, I'm gonna have to fuck you up now because you're a little too close to me. But it's like to this point, like you just don't know who you're gonna be dealing with on a day-to-day basis, or you don't know. You don't
go on.
You don't know like what you're gonna run into. So like the one thing that throughout that whole rest of the train ride, I was just like on guard, like with all this like, I'm ready for anything to pop off.
Right. Like I'm ready to swing.
I was thinking like while this guy was
let me start today.
Right. While this guy was messing with the Mexican dude, is it cowardice or is it smart that I did not jump into it to help him out?
Smart. I mean, it didn't get violent yet,
that's the corner I'm taking where it's like he didn't swing, so and that's why I didn't jump in. If he started swinging,
there's certain situations where like you can't look away. You know what I mean? Like you can only look away for so long when you like have this anticipation like this person is supposed to be able to fend for themselves. But in a situation where you feel like that other person is not going to be capable of fending for themselves, you just gotta hope that they don't like the other person doesn't try anything reckless. Because it's like, damn, I don't want to have to interfere, but if you do this,
right? If you causing harm to somebody else,
I'm going to have to get involved. Like let's say somebody's picking on an old lady. Like
I'm gonna have to.
Come on, so you know she's not gonna fight you, bro. Like let's not do that.
Right, and that's the other thing I was thinking.
If you swing on her, I'm gonna have to swing on you, and I'm gonna look like.
That's the other thing where it's like, even if he did start swinging, this guy was not a small dude. This guy was.
That's what I'm saying. Was, so in that situation, you see him as someone who should be able to like handle himself. Right. So he's not defenseless. But if you're like someone you can perceive as a defenseless person, it's like, I can't allow you to do that because that's abuse at this point. And I'm a witness to abuse. I can't do that. So it's just one of those situations where your triggers are they're nullified until like certain like extreme stimuli get involved. And then it becomes like a real problem. Thankfully, I've never had to deal with that. One time I might have had to, like in a situation where this dude was like arguing with his girlfriend. He never hit her. And he said it in the train that he wasn't going to hit her. But, like, in the back of my mind, I was just there, like, please don't. Like, you saying it, and I hope you stick to that. Because if you hit her, I'm going to have to jump over there. And I don't want to do that. So
just have you give you a quick piece and...
Yeah, I don't, like, just don't do that, and we are... Especially if the other person is not if not being an aggressor. Like, if the chick was wilding out on you and you hit her back, like, I'm going to have to be like, damn, bitch, why don't you keep your hands to yourself? This was not going to happen if you didn't instigate. But if she's she's like trying to like nullify the situation as well and not trying to get like any kind of like physically aggressive, then it's like, all right, cool. Now you being abusive and we not going to do that. But some chicks definitely bring it on themselves. But speaking of crazy situations, I wouldn't so much say crazy, but she was crazy. I was on the bus, right, and this one lady, her mind was gone. Like she had to be gone. Like so, to the point where she forgot what a shower was. I don't think she showered in years, but she came on the shit and she was stinking, bro. I'm talking. I would have been catatonic if I had to stay on the. You know that SpongeBob
meme when he's all scrunched up in the face,
bro. I wouldn't have had a face if I had to stay on the bus for much longer. She didn't get on the bus the whole ride, but for when the time she came on, she was just talking shit. You know, they always talk to themselves, but out loud, like they're having a whole conversation with somebody else. So she's there talking about some shit, bringing up random shit, and I'm sitting like in front of her. And I guess my mistake was acknowledging her presence because I thought she was like she gave me, you know, the nod or whatever it is. You know, like you passing somebody, you give them the nod like, yo, what's up, nod. So I thought it was one of them situations. So I gave the nod back, obviously, you know, cautiously because I didn't want to like have any interactions. So I put my headphones in and I was listening to my shit because, you know, I got to tune out now because I can't be a part of any of this.
A little too much now.
Right, but I'm sitting on the chair in front of her. I already sat there first because I wasn't going to sit there knowing that she was there because her shit was bussing. But I stood right there, sit right there, and she was talking some shit. And every few seconds, you know, when there's a break in the audio in my headphones, I would hear her, like, low-key talking shit about me. But, like, talking shit about her situations as well. So it's just, like, she's just literally, obviously, very crazy.
What she saying?
Something like, oh, I'm a bitch. Some shit to the effect of, oh, I'm a bitch, or whatever the fuck she was saying.
Fucking dread ass, shit. Looking ass.
She was just saying a whole bunch of reckless shit. I'm there, like,
ass.
I'm just gonna keep ignoring her. Hopefully, at least if I ignore her, like, she's gonna direct that crazy to somebody else, because she's obviously not gonna turn it off.
Right.
So the whole time I'm on the bus, she's just talking shit. I'm like, oh, come on, bus stop. I couldn't gotten the bus stop any faster. I hopped off that bus so fast. And I'm sure in her mind, or her lack thereof, she probably thought that I was being the pussy that she was claiming that I was being by getting off of the bus. But realistically, I was just at my stop and happy.
Realistically, you would have murdered her if she tried something. You would have murdered her.
I wouldn't try to touch her. I would have legitimately avoided her.
Hold her down.
Because she stinks.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
okay.
I would have had to burn my clothes if I had any prolonged contact with her. So I was definitely not
good call.
going to try to do that whatsoever. And it's very clear she's out of her mind. Like, I'm not gonna, you know what I mean? Like, she's clearly crazy. So it's not like me beating her is gonna achieve anything. I don't get cool points for that. You know what I mean?
Of course not.
And
but
she clearly would. And she clearly wouldn't have, like, done any kind of damage to me to the effect that I would have done to her had there even been a thing. So it's just like,
I agree with your sentiment.
I would
but
just
I feel like
get away
for
from
me at that moment, I don't know what you packing.
Right, but if they're packing something that they're gonna leave
right, but the thing is,
you know what I mean? They're not gonna start by fighting, then pull out the gun. Like, they're gonna leave with the gun. Especially if they're crazy. If they're crazy, you really don't think if you give a crazy person a gun, they're not gonna blow your shit off?
They're crazy and they're trying to use a weapon. They want to pull it out when it's convenient, not off rip.
I think that's too calculated for a crazy person. I think that's
but
a psychopath.
That's what I'm trying to say. There's different levels of crazy. Are we talking?
But she was outwardly crazy.
But
this is not
I'm just saying,
crazy.
for me in general, it's like, if we engage in a physical altercation, it's gonna end in one of two ways. I'm out, or you're out.
Right.
Because I'm not gonna wait. Like, I'm not gonna turn my back just for you to come back at me.
Oh no, I'm not gonna turn my. I never said that.
Right.
It's all
no. Right. But I'm just saying, like, male or female, and don't get it twisted for anybody in the chat. Like, yeah, I grew up with morals and whatnot. Don't hit females. If a female come packing with a weapon, or she comes swinging at me,
that's like a given. That's always been my mantra. Like, I've told girlfriend this. I know if you heard when I've told one of my exes that, like, I will never ever instigate any violence to you. However, if my life is threatened by you particularly, I will two-piece you so fast you will forget who it is that you're dealing with. Like, I will switch up so quick if my life is in there. I will two-piece. And it's not to say, you know, I'm going to, like, vampirize you, is like, you know, do a whole bunch of damage. No, I'm just going to give you the quickest route to a knockout. Like, I'm knocking you smooth out. Like, I'm not... If I can knock you out in one punch, by all means, I'm hitting you one punch. If I got a two-piece you, three-piece, however long it takes, you get knocked out. I'm not going to stall you.
The main thing is, like,
how it is.
Just leave me alone. It's just
pretty much. No, that's what I'm saying. My first instinct, though, is to bail out. If bail out is not an option, then it's hands. It's kind of like the active shooter safety strategy, right? If you have the opportunity to run, you run first. If there's no opportunity to run, then hands have to be thrown. That's just how it works. So whatever else it is that is available to me, because it may not just be hands. You might catch a board to the ears, of a chair, if you will. You know what I mean? Like,
I never want to be in a physical altercation because I feel like my mind goes into a very bad place where it's like anything I see will be used.
oh no, me not so much.
Nah,
Me,
I'm not.
Me, I'll do that. I'll do that if the stipulations are there. Like if I'll rather fight fair. So if I see you pick up a chair, I'll pick up a chair. If I see you pick up a block, I'll pick up a block. But if it's just hands, you catching all of them. Like I'm not going for nothing else. It's hands. No matter whether or not I'm losing, like I'll take my L.
You see, well,
and I'll go back to the drawing board. I'll get better, and I'll come back in later on. But initially, if it's just fists, it's just fists you get.
And that's why I never want to be in a physical altercation. I rather work with words. And if, some people are gonna look at it like that's pussy. Why don't you fight with hands? And what? Listen,
no, because 99%
if you ever get in a physical
altercation
with
me,
me,
bro,
your goal is to hurt me. Right. Your goal is to hurt me. So if you get into a physical altercation with me, one of two things is gonna happen: you hurt me, or I'm hurting you. And when I'm in fight mode, it's survival fight. So best believe I'm going to use anything and everything around me and those sources to detain you.
Right.
So
I feel it.
And that's just coming with me. I don't know if I'm just savage like that. I'm just
I mean it's always subjective arguments to that. It's just you, really. That's just a lot of people perceive fights much the same
way.
Right,
and there's a gentlemanly
just not with the
semantics
thing. They're not with the back and forth
of like fighting with fists, where it's kind of like, after I fuck you up, we had our thing, it's over, and you don't.
No, I'm all for the idea that you gonna come back, but at least when you come back, initially what is likely to happen. So if you come back after getting your ass whooped, understand that there's a very strong possibility you might get your ass whooped again if you did not prepare. So it's one of those situations where even if you don't respect my shit and you don't leave me alone, at least if you try it again, you're likely to get washed in much the same way that it happened the first time. So at least you're a little more cautious about doing it. And in that situation, if somebody does come to me a secondary time, I do go into full-on defense mode, because at that point, if they know that I'm going to whoop their ass normally, they're not going to try to bring a normal fight to me. So in that situation, it's different. It's like, all right, cool. I know at this point, I'm going to beat your ass, so you probably try some special shit, and I'm not with the special shit. I'll come with that shit first. But the initial fight, for sure. Just hands. You catching the fullest of hands. After that, it's up for grabs. But initial fight, not so much.
Not war. Just love. Not war.
Or just indifference. Just stay in your lane. Just stay in your lane. We'll stay in our lane. It's all lit.
Basically,
ain't nobody got to cross lanes. We ain't vehicles. We humans. So stay in yours. I'll stay in mine. We all right.
Yeah, very much. Anything of interest happened to you this week?
Pussy. No. I don't know.
If anything, I want that to be future self. When I edit this, I just want that to be the meme of the week of our podcast. Just have Maurice, like Bobby, or like Bobby asks, anything interesting happened to you this week? Maurice, one panel, pussy.
Pussy. I mean, really, that's at this point, that's the only unique thing that happens. Is my life is surrounded by video games and work. And more so.
Although you're gonna say video games and pussy, I'm like, it's a pretty good life.
Nah, pussy's like a. If anything, that's like a intermission. You know what I mean? Like you get in a couple matches, get some pussy, go back to the couple matches. You know what I mean? Like
you're swiping right.
Yeah, it's not like a lingering thing. Like you don't post up for too long. It's get it in.
Yeah, everyone have their fun.
Go back to the typical.
Everybody have their fun.
Even when it comes to work, the pussy's the intermission between one job and the next job. You catch one right here, and then I go to work, and that's it. I don't have to deal with it. But really eventful things, not so much. I've been playing a lot of Dauntless.
Yeah, I've been playing a lot Monster of Hunter clone-ish from Epic Games.
It's like Fortnite in a Monster Hunter-ish
It's like
world.
Fortnite. I tried it out.
The graphics, the gameplay,
of course, yeah, but like I would say gameplay is like Fortnite.
No, more so the gameplay with the guns.
Okay.
It's kind of like Fortnite. Okay,
maybe, yeah. But, I was about to say I ain't building forts.
But I'm talking when I say that is in reference to the graphics and the whole like the comical style of artwork. It's less favored towards like really serious art style. It's more like a relatively playful art style. But it's set in, a unseemingly grim world, but it's really based on you just killing big monsters. You know, conceptually, the Monster Hunter formula. You fight big monsters, but the mechanics behind it are, you know, the mechanics behind a lot of the weapons are fairly unique, though. Definitely, I will say. Um, Even the guns, like they have an interesting mechanic to where they do more damage at closer range. So they're not they allow for damage at a distance, but they're more a mid-range weapon than anything else. And a matter of fact, with the reload mechanic requires you to be damn near like eating the monster's ass close in order to
I didn't sign up for
get
this game.
right. No, no,
Whoa, hold
like
up.
you have to be
Hold up.
directly next to the monster, like in the monster, to get like a strong, like you get empowered reloads.
Right.
So based on where like your proximity to the monster, if you're really close, you draw aether from the monster, which is like the essence that creates their being, and you draw that from them, and then when in drawing that, you get like stronger bullets for a period of time, like a couple seconds. So in order to fire off your most powerful shots, you have to make sure that you get that empowered reload first before you actually like fire off your you know your really powerful shots and skills and whatnot, because everything gets powered up by that reload, and some skills actually change their mechanics based on that reload. So I've been using a lot of guns, but all the weapons are fairly unique though. They have chain blades, which is essentially God of War.
Mm-hmm.
You're pretty much playing Kratos, essentially.
Right.
Um,
I started using the hammer. I kind of like it so far.
Hammer is fairly standard as it relates to the Monster Hunter formula. It's really bash head, monster knocks over, rinse, repeat. You know, as generally. But these hammers have fucking shotgun shells in them. So that's
Yeah,
an
I noticed that
interesting
too. It was like,
mechanic.
and I used it
And
all.
you
I'm
can
like,
also
so how do you
use it
replenish
to
it?
you reload. You hit the R1 button, I think, and
Oh well,
it
I play on
reloads
PC.
like
That's why I was like R1. The fuck.
or whatever.
I guess
don't
R.
know. You
I
gotta,
guess R would be
I don't
the
know how you
reload.
play on PC and use a controller. The game is pretty much built for controllers. There's no extra mapping necessary for anything. You just play it on
I
controllers.
don't necessarily have a controller. I don't think so.
You don't have an Xbox or an extra PS4 controller.
I have an
They all
Xbox
sync.
One controller.
Yeah, that is ideal for PC syncing.
Oh, okay, then I'll try.
Because it's a PC. It's a PC
Then
controller.
I'll try that.
Yeah, do that. But yeah, the mapping is as simplistic for an action RPG game as humanly possible. Realistically, it's literally all the mappings should be standard on the controller. You don't need any extra mappings for anything. You just grab a controller and go. It's not like Fortnite where mapping building is more, you know, beneficial than having it on a controller. It's much unlike it. There's no building. So everything is just straight standard jump into a match like attack things. So you can just use a controller. Much like Monster Hunter where you don't need to map 500 different things either. You just grab a controller and go. It's one of those situations. So you reload and there's like with God, like in God of not God of War, in Metal Gear Solid, not Metal Gear Solid, I'm talking too much shit. Gears of War, where when you reload, there's certain reload mechanics where you reload, and if you stop it at a certain point, it gets powered up bullets. Right. It's that.
Oh,
so when you stop it in the middle, the shots get powered up.
Okay.
But the hammer is mostly for shooting purposes. It's mostly for like knocking monsters over. Yeah. So like you catch certain monsters doing certain animations, doing certain attacks, and you can knock them over mid attack to, you know, capitalize on stagger time and downtime and getting in some more hits. But one of the dopest thing I found about the hammer is the jet jump. Like you can literally like jump at a monster as opposed to like running up to them, taking your sweet ass time. You can just bounce your way up there, and that jump counts as an attack too. So when you jump, you go straight into the fray like doing attacks. So that's pretty decent. What I do find pretty beastly, though, I haven't started using him too much, though, is axes, because the axe has a throw. So with the same mechanic with knocking monsters over, the axe, you can throw it. You'd have to retrieve it after if you don't, like, immediately pull it back. But you can throw the axe, and the throw itself counts as a heavy attack as well. So you can catch a monster off guard just throwing your axe at them. So that's pretty dope. I fuck with that. I haven't started using axes yet, but I know they have, like abnormally high DPS, so I'm gonna have to try that. Guns are pretty beastly for DPS too, but they don't stagger, so you don't really get too much downtime unless you're in like a party of people who can stagger. But that's on that biggest side note that we've ever been on.
Yeah.
Just talking
Just
about
talk about it.
just
Listen, no,
I was
no.
asked if there was any new things happening, and that's
That's
really been it.
totally
I've been
fine.
playing a lot of every other game I've been playing. I've been platinuming, so I don't have any like particular need to play them. I will say Horizon Zero Dawn, arguably, because obviously everybody's gonna have their arguments about shit, unnecessary. Because Horizon Zero Dawn, complete tangent, has one of the best stories I've ever like
It's a
listened
Mo
to,
review
read,
right there. Mo
like
review right there.
in gaming history. Like the story is just beautiful, bro. I don't think there's gonna be much room for Horizon Zero Dawn 2 in expanding the story because the story is already like initially told. There has to be some crazy expansion for that to happen. But the initial story of Horizon Zero Dawn, fucking amazing, bro. And this is just from not even like reading all the data logs, the hundreds of data logs that exist that you can pick up as collectibles and shit. This is just from the main story. Like the story told just from the main story is fucking amazing, man. It's amazing. If you have
We're gonna
not
have
yet,
to do like a little game review section then for on our thing, just for you.
no, but Horizon Zero Dawn is the wave, man. Like this, but I'd be too much spoilers. I'm just gonna say the Horizon.
Well,
Zero
you
Dawn
could just
story
talk
is
about it in
amazing.
general, like
I mean, the game is pretty old, so I think at this point, if you ain't played
Hey,
it, you ask.
I mean, still
the game is like 4 years old.
doesn't mean it's still people don't know about it and can't go back to it.
You should have already beaten it. The story is too amazing for you if not beaten it.
All right, well there you go.
If you have any intentions of playing it, you would already play it. The story is
the
beautiful,
Mo
bro.
seal of approval.
Nah, the story is amazing. Like I mean, you know me to some extent when it comes to video games. I'm more of a grab and go type of dude. Like I don't care too much about stories because you can't really compel me. At the end of the day, I'm gonna think it's just a video game, so you can't really say too much. And if the story seems like it's too amazing to you, I'll probably break it down to its simplest. Like most people get hype over the story over Final Fantasy VII. To me, it's just like the story of a psychopath, and not a very good story of a psychopath either. He just went crazy within a matter of seconds. So, everybody's talking about how in-depth the story was and, Sephiroth's, like, descent into madness. He didn't descend, he dove. He went straight into madness. There was no progressive anything. He just was crazy. Horizon Zero Dawn tells the story essentially of a society, a tribal society that exists after futuristic advancements. So society advanced so much to the point where certain things were created, and the things that were created were too advanced, and they ended up destroying the world, and they had to pretty much recreate the world through a computer program. Which sounds stupid because it's not possible, but just the thought of how they execute it, it just makes you feel like it's possible. Like it feels believable.
I mean,
like a computer program could really shape the world.
That doesn't sound too far fetched.
An inorganic material creating organic life from nothing, not possible. Like you need a catalyst. Like you can't just create from nothing. That's not how it works.
Well, I'm trying to say, but you said it as
But
in, like,
what I'm
because
saying
it's
is
not
what I'm
possible
saying is
is not a good story, or
No. Did you not hear me? The story's amazing. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I know, but the way you
it's
said
not
it,
possible,
the way you said,
but how they execute it in the story makes you feel like it's possible.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. It's obvious when you think about it realistically. It's not possible. It's completely impossible. But just how they execute it within the story of the game, like, makes you feel, because of how much they have advanced, that it is actually possible. Obviously, it's not, but just how they execute the story makes you feel like it is.
Okay.
And that's as much as I will say without putting out any like actual spoilers, but because the whole core of the game is about that.
Yeah,
so
you
you'll
still
figure
get the
that out
setting.
eventually.
All right.
But
Well,
essentially, that's what the only thing that the program could not create was human life. They had like embryos stored, and they just like hatched them on a timer, or as the program felt it necessary. But every other piece of life, plant life, whatever it is, like the program shaped the world. So it's interesting. The program creates snow. It creates biomes, entire atmospheres for people to survive. It creates deserts. Like, obviously that type of shit is wild, but all based on a computer program, literally just controlling like the shape of the world and everything that goes on in it. So you start the game with everybody kind of speaking English, and you wonder if these people are so tribal, why is it that everyone has like complete understanding of like formatted like English, and you realize later on it's because they were all created initially from perfectly English speakers. They all just they've they've been descended from people who speak perfect English, so they're not gonna descend even their language patterns into nonsense. You know what I mean? They all have their little sayings within their tribes, but they all speak perfect English. Like no one speaks any different language. They all speak English. But in this world, there's not so much racism. As you notice, there's a lot of different races of individuals, but there's no real racism. It's more like
That's
tribism.
Tribism.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Because everybody still, there always has to be separation. Human
Right.
life.
I
We
feel like
can't-
that's
we
still
can't exist
that's just racism on a different scale.
but not because of their skin,
Right,
or
but
how
because
they
of their
look,
tribe.
but because of
Still
but because
the way you are.
no, it's because of the history that their tribes have. It's not their appearance.
They're still present.
It's
prejudice.
some tribes have throughout history been oppressive. Going back to the slavery thing and like owning others, and because of that, there's a resentment towards their descendants because of that. However, their descendants don't show any kind of like need to go back to that. It's kind of a try to change. So they do touch on certain topics like slavery and again, not so much racism. It's more like tribal prejudice. Like how some people will feel like all white people are bad because white people some white people in the past were fucked up individuals. So it's kind of some of those beliefs like, people are still to be hated just because they are this type of race or they are this type of tribe. But they don't touch on it so much as they do like the story of like trying to protect the world for what it is. Because essentially, if they don't, it's going to wipe itself out and rebuild again. So it's just one of those weird things. I still don't know where they got so much embryos from. They got a lot of like embryos just stored, like copious amounts, because apparently they can reset the world infinite amount of times and always have like embryos to restart the world. So I don't know if there's like somebody like feeding
right now
them
in the real world.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I think because the program is also capable of creating robots for different purposes.
Yeah.
And some of the robots do helping the terraforming as well. So some of those robots probably do transport actually organic material, possibly embryonic material as well. So there's also that, and they have their facilities that the machines themselves go to. So they're like transporting material to and from facilities. So they're still actively like shaping the world, but it's interesting as hell. Like initially, it just seems like one girl being super curious, but you find out like there's a lot to be curious about because it's so diverse. It's so and then she's the only open-minded person. So like all the tribal stipulations, she doesn't align with them. She just does her own thing. But that's too much tangents. I went on 50 tangents. Horizon Zero Dawn. Play it if you haven't.
You were just
try it
the
out.
game, that's
it's
all.
free. It's literally free to play. They have followed the model that I love the most. Pay for cosmetics. That's the most amazing business model for free to play games ever, and they're following it. Fortnite has been widely successful because of it. So
any
why not?
money making video game is successful purely because it's a free game through cosmetics.
I just prefer that than pay to win.
Well, of course.
I prefer there to be that than pay for
it.
immense amounts of progress. Some people want to spend money. Some people like dropping racks to say I'm big bank, little bank. There's a lot of people who actually like pride themselves on being able to spend more to be like better at a game than others because they achieve a threshold that like goes past skill. Like I have more money, so I don't need to be skillful. I just buy my way to success. You know what I mean? So there is that model that follows along people who actually have the money to spend, and that's good for them. But for me, if you can be successful in a business model by selling cosmetics, which has been proven true, Fortnite has made an immense amount of profit just on cosmetic sales. You can't buy skill.
It's not the only League of Legends,
So
Fortnite.
Right, you can't buy skill. So it's just one of those situations where if you selling cosmetics, that's great. I rather pay to look different or look unique in my own way than pay to be better than somebody else without actually putting in any effort. So for me, more so than anything, it's a completely free to pay game in that department. There is an elite pass which allows you to get Slayer cores or just urns in general that allows you to get certain cells that are guaranteed epic quality, which do essentially like max out a particular perk if you have like another piece of armor that matches that. So let's say a +6 of skill matches, right? If you have a an armor with a +3 stat, all you need is a +3 perk to max out the skill. So there are urns that you can get in the elite pass that allow you to get, and this is not promotion. It's not paid promotion. I'm just talking about the game because I'm playing it.
I mean, if they want to promote us, I mean, if they want to,
I'm not. I'm just letting people know that I'm not hyping a game because of any kind.
Well,
of
I'm pretty sure they
sponsorship.
look at
It's
us and
just
like, yeah, they're
general
not
opinion.
sponsored.
You never know. You never know. You may have
I mean,
backings
wishful
elsewhere.
thinking. Wishful thinking.
Right. But so you can pay for that, but you don't need to. It's not mandatory. I have an elite pass and I've maxed it out already for the season, and I haven't gotten anything that I couldn't have gotten from in game. So for the most part, it's really a lot of cosmetic shit. So you don't need it to enhance your gaming experience whatsoever. And I'm a person who come across my fair share of pay to win games, not played them a whole lot because obviously, man, I'm not trying to drop racks like that. But from what I've experienced, this is just you just jump in, farm, farm like hell, because that's really all it is.
That note, I think we've been enough on.
Hey, listen, I was
No.
Man was asked. I was asked, so I went off.
I know.
You know what I mean?
You went off. You snapped. But I think we're at the mark where
barred that bitch up.
I think we're at the mark where we can end this episode.
Definitely.
So, to anyone watching, thank you for watching, and
Play Horizon.
Play Horizon. Maybe Mo would
play Dauntless just because it's free.
Dauntless.
Like,
Maybe
for
Mo
no
would
other
also
reason.
drop his username.
KellyBoy33
Okay, well there you go. If you want,
on Epic and PlayStation.
there you go. If you want a buddy to play it, I'm a PC gamer.
I probably won't be playing too much with you because, like, you know, I have my odd times when I play that people may not be awake.
Same. I'm an overnight worker.
And I'm generally in a party 9 times out of 10. So, but you know, we can definitely
shoot a message.
Like, connect me for some hunts. Yeah, connect me for some hunts. I'll pull up.
Thank you for joining us. Please, we want this to be user discussion type of things. So tell us what you want to hear. Tell us what kind of questions you want us to ask or want us to answer. Tell us the topics that you want to hear.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, and another thing, this doesn't have to be based on any particularly hot button
No,
topics.
we just do hot button.
Like, if you have a problem, you have a concern, like if you have something that you like explain to you from a different perspective, bring it up. If it's noteworthy and we can't just respond to you within two sentences, then we'll definitely bring it up on a cast. Otherwise, we definitely just respond to you in the chat too. We are active in the chat, so you know, say words.
On that note, it's your boy Bobby.
And it's your boy Mo.
The real ones are out.